The sports world was struck by a tragic loss on November 6, 2025, when Marshawn Kneeland, a promising defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys, was found dead at just 24 years old. While Marshawn's physical prowess on the field had earned him a place among the NFL's brightest young stars, it was his struggle behind the scenes that would ultimately define the last chapter of his story. While the news of his death, initially shocking, became a moment of reflection for fans and players alike. Marshawn Kneeland's passing forces us to confront the reality that we, as spectators, only see the surface of the lives of professional athletes. Their performances, achievements, and victories are celebrated in the media, but the personal battles they face, often hidden from public view, remain a mystery to the very people who cheer for them. In the case of Marshawn Kneeland, we never truly knew the full extent of his pain until it was too late. What followed was an outpouring of grief from teammates, fans, and the NFL community. But beyond the condolences, a more profound question lingered. What had Marshawn been enduring in silence? And how could the pressures of fame, success, and the relentless expectations of his role have led to such a tragic outcome? Early life and the road to the NFL. Marshawn Kneeland's story began far from the bright lights of the NFL, raised in the small town of Benton Harbor, Michigan. Kneeland came from a humble background. His parents, though hard-working, faced challenges typical of many middle-class families. Kneeland's father, a former high school football coach, had instilled a deep sense of discipline and love for the game in Marshawn from a young age. It was clear from the start that Marshawn had a natural talent for football, something that would shape the trajectory of his life. As a child, Marshawn was introverted and spent much of his time practicing alone. His talent didn't go unnoticed, and by the time he reached high school, he was the star player on his team. But despite his burgeoning athletic ability, Kneeland struggled with self-confidence. His family, though supportive, didn't always understand the pressure that came with being a rising athlete in a small town where football was the heartbeat of the community. Rise to fame, college success, and NFL draft. Kneeland's journey to the NFL began when he earned a scholarship to play at Western Michigan University. There, his performance quickly drew attention from scouts across the nation. As a defensive lineman, he was known for his aggressive but relentless style of play, earning numerous accolades and a reputation as one of the top prospects in his position. His college career was a success, but even in this moment of triumph, Marshawn faced unseen challenges. Though Marshawn was on the radar of NFL scouts, there was a quiet loneliness that accompanied his rise. His coaches and teammates noted his quiet nature, often retreating to solitude after practice. He was a perfectionist, driven not just by his desire to succeed, but by an internal pressure that weighed heavily on him. As the 2024 NFL Draft approached, the world saw Kneeland as the next big star. His potential was limitless, his physicality on the field, his raw strength, and his ability to disrupt defenses made him a first-round talent. But the mental toll of the journey was not visible to the public eye. When the Dallas Cowboys selected Kneeland with their second-round pick in 2024, it marked the culmination of years of hard work and sacrifice. Yet in the face of this achievement, Marshawn remained largely distant from the public eye. His teammates, while welcoming and supportive, couldn't help but notice that Marshawn often kept to himself, rarely sharing the emotional burdens he carried. Behind the scenes, struggles off the field, what many didn't know was that Marshawn's struggles were deep and personal. Like many athletes, Marshawn had a complex relationship with his mental health. The pressures of professional sports combined with the pain of personal loss had been weighing on him for quite some time. Marshawn's mother had passed away earlier in the year, and while he spoke openly about his love for her, the grief left an indelible mark on his psyche. The loss of his mother, compounded by the constant pressure to perform, created an emotional strain that he struggled to reconcile. Mental health issues in professional sports are often dismissed or overlooked. Athletes are expected to be invincible, both physically and mentally. Yet, beneath the polished image, many are fighting battles that are not visible to the public. Marshawn's situation was no different. In an environment that values toughness and strength, admitting to vulnerabilities can feel like a weakness of perception that many athletes, including Kneeland, try to avoid. Marshawn had always been a private person. He kept his emotions guarded, rarely opening up to those closest to him. As his career progressed, the demands on him increased, and the emotional weight of his responsibilities seemed to take a toll. His social media presence was minimal, and he rarely spoke about his personal life in interviews. Yet the quiet struggles of his mind were growing louder. It wasn't just the pressures of football that affected him. There was a deep internal conflict. He often turned to solitude in an attempt to cope with the pain he felt, trying to navigate the intense expectations placed on him. This silence, while it may have seemed like strength to the outside world, was slowly eroding his mental well-being. The final struggle, the night of November 6, 2025. The final chapter of Marshawn Kneeland's life unfolded tragically on November 6, 2025. Early reports suggested that Marshawn had been involved in a traffic incident when police attempted to pull him over for a routine stop. What followed was a brief car chase, which ended when Marshawn crashed his vehicle. Authorities believe his death was the result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The news of his passing spread quickly across social media and sports outlets. Fans and fellow athletes alike expressed their shock and grief. What was once a promising future for Kneeland had come to a tragic end. In the days following his death, more details emerged. According to 911 dispatch audio, Marshawn's girlfriend had called the authorities, fearing that he was going to end his life. She revealed that Marshawn had been struggling with his mental health for some time and that he had recently shared feelings of despair. Marshawn had sent a message to his family before the incident telling them goodbye. It was clear that, despite his success on the field, Marshawn had been fighting an internal battle that he had not been able to overcome. Reflection. The unseen struggles of athletes. Marshawn Kneeland's death serves as a painful reminder of the unseen struggles that athletes face. While their physical accomplishments are celebrated, the emotional and psychological toll of their careers often goes unnoticed. The pressure to perform, the constant scrutiny, and the fear of failure can weigh heavily on any individual. And it's especially true for professional athletes who live in the public eye. Kneeland's story is a tragic illustration of how mental health struggles can be hidden behind a facade of success. The NFL, like other professional sports leagues, has made strides in addressing mental health, but the stigma surrounding it remains. Athletes are still often reluctant to seek help, fearing that it could impact their careers or tarnish their public image.